Hello everyone, welcome. My name is John Daly. I'm the quality partner here at the National Logistics Academy, and today we're going to be talking about careers. We're delighted to be joined by Sammi Bowler. Say hello.
Hi, I'm Sammi Bowler. I'm a transport consultant from Stockport, and I'd just like to talk about my journey into logistics.
Excellent, and thank you again for coming. It's really great to have you here because this is part of a series that we're going at in terms of getting people to understand what the career is like in the life of logistics. So to start off with, tell us a bit about you and how you got into it and what you did.
So I started my journey when I was 18. I did my HGV Class 2 licence, and it was initially so that I could drive the horses around with the horse box, so I could take myself to shows, and then obviously those skills are transferable. I grew up in a family-run heavy haulage business, so it meant that my dad occasionally said, will you just move this machine, will you just help us out on the road? So I started doing admin and the odd transport move for my dad, but predominantly just transport related admin duties in the office just to help out.
So even though it was your family business, there must have been something that kind of like, oh, this sounds like fun. What was it?
There was just so many different things that I could do within the business to help. So whether it was just admin in the office, a bit of invoicing, looking at the planning side of it, going out on the lorry, doing more walk around checks, so like learning a bit of mechanics and a bit of I guess what all the lads were doing. So I guess that's the way I've been brought up, a little bit like my brother. My dad just treated me like everybody else, and yeah, just so many different options and avenues that I could choose to do.
Yeah. So what was it like, because obviously it's a family business, what was it like living in a family where that kind of business was going on? Did you see a lot of your parents and that kind of thing, or were
no,
they always busy?
They had 3 businesses, so they were open 7 days a week, I guess 365 days a year. So my dad was often out on Christmas Day, out on a wagon. It was very fast paced, and I was just sort of having a go at playing on the quad in the field and my dad's tractors and going to truck shows, and it was part of my life really. So I always had a bit of a passion for, I guess, big boys' toys as we call it, I guess.
So you've done that. So what else did you carry on doing then?
So just started as admin predominantly, and then invoicing. Then I went on to abnormal load officer. So I was planning the routes where it was quite some time ago now. It was 16 years ago. We had fax machines, so we'd plan the route on the computer and print it off, and then we'd fax it to the police forces and the councils, and then they would confirm or refuse that route for the abnormal loads. So the family business is abnormal loads predominantly, so anything oversized.
I was going to say, what sort of things are we talking about abnormal?
Yeah, so anything up to 300 tonne in weight, so that'll be a big earth mover. So anything over width, so it'll take up 2 lanes of a motorway. Over length, sometimes it might be 200 foot long, big wind turbine blades. Over height, so it needs a specific route for being over 16 foot 6, which is the legal limit for motorway bridges in the UK. And just overweight, so anything abnormal is what we specialise in.
What was the most bizarre thing that you probably transported there?
I mean, as a business, we've done some pretty ginormous things. The biggest things I've moved: a 100-tonne crane, a wind turbine blade, big earth machines, so excavators, dumpers. They're all pretty cool stuff.
So, what separates that from some normal planning then? Just is there anything specific that's like particularly you've got to be good at?
Everything abnormal has to have a route confirmed by the police forces and the councils, whereas general haulage, should we call it, the planning really is just bridge heights, so looking at your overall height and making sure you're not going through certain villages that have got weight restrictions or bridges with weight limits on. But your 44 tonne is your limit for a general haulage wagon. Did
you have to do a lot of research involved in this?
I had help from other people in the office when I was learning the job, and then I'd often ring the driver and say, can you go around this corner at this junction of this slip road or whatever it is through this village, and they would tell me whether they've been down there or not with certain trailers. So it's quite complex, but I had a really good network of people that could help advise me, and always support of everyone in the office.
And then so what sort of skills were you developing out of that, you think?
Loads. So like just your geography in general. So when people are ringing booking jobs in, they'll tell you they want to go from, they'll give you just some towns, and then you've got to try and work out where they are and look at the major road networks. So ideally you want to stick to major road networks when you're planning these lorries, because they are oversized, but then a lot of the time they might want a police escort if you're going through a certain village, or But yeah, just loads of transferable skills. I tend to just learn it all on the job, and young people nowadays, it's part and parcel of life, isn't technology? So a lot of people already have the transferable skills that they probably haven't used yet.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all artificial intelligence going on as well. So you've done that. So what was next then? What was going on in your career?
So I became office manager. I then did the transport manager duties. So I was helping my dad, who was transport manager, director, lorry driver. He did a bit of everything, but he predominantly ran it. My mum did the accounts. Me and my brother really were just staff at that point, and then I helped him with the transport manager duties and anything office based. And then my dad had a stroke. It was about 9 years ago now.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So unfortunately, it meant that me and my brother went from staff and sort of legs on the ground to we had to step up and be transport manager, joint director of the business, and in reality run it while my dad was getting better.
Wow. So was that? Did it feel like a steep learning curve?
A very, very steep learning curve. Yeah.
And tell me about some of the things you had to learn along the way.
Everything you can imagine, because we would, as I say, we were just staff really, and we were sort of on a level with all the other staff within the business because mum and dad ran it, and then we had to step up. You had to try and earn the respect of members of staff that you were on level with. We had to learn to run the business. We had to try and make it profitable. We had to renew all the trucks. My dad was running real old trucks, so we had this outlook on life where if you can't afford it, you don't buy it. So we didn't have many finance trucks, but the company was struggling with owning everything outright, and we didn't have new trucks, so we had to renew the whole fleet and try and turn it around really.
So that must have been a challenge, going from being one of the Indians to being a big chief.
Yeah.
So how did you make that happen? What did you do? Did you find something inside yourself that said, right, I need to communicate with these people, you need to now understand where we are, or what happened?
I guess a lot of members of the team, none of us really had a choice. At that point it was a matter of we all sink or we all swim, so we had a really good team around us that helped us try and build from what we had. My dad was unwell for quite a long time. He's still involved with the business now. He's just got quite a bad paralysis down one side, but he never lost it in his head, he just lost his speech. So he's still involved now, like I say, but yeah, it was a big learning curve. But
so anybody going into that kind of level, got any instant tips and advice at this point in time, this conversation, what to look out for, what to, if you had to do it again, what would be the first thing? I would do this.
I mean, it comes down to the fact my dad was running everything, so he was doing everybody's jobs, and that's not good in any management structure to have one person running everything. It's great to have a person at the top, but when they have the fingers in every single pie, it's not ideal. It takes its toll.
You've learned now maybe just separate a few tasks out to get multitasking.
And delegate jobs and trust those people in those roles to do great stuff within their roles. So
I love that. Talking about delegation, but I love the fact you're talking about trust.
Yeah, you have to have trust in a business, don't you? And you can set sort of goals for them within their role, but it's about taking away that micromanagement, and it's saying, this is your job, have you done X, Y and Z this week or this month or today, and trusting that they're good at the job and they're going to do their best, and that the best is enough.
Yeah.
So getting the right people. Yeah, it is, yeah.
So you got to that point. Where are we going from there then?
So I became joint director and transport manager of the family business, and then I had a bit of a midlife crisis at 30, so I was coming up to my 30th birthday and I decided I wanted to do something for myself. So I, thankfully, the family business said that I could reduce my hours over a period of say 6 months' time, just until I'd built up my own clientele to make it a full-time role for myself, working for myself outside of the family business. So I'm 3.5 years on from that journey, and I was full-time within about 4 months. I was full-time working for myself with my own clients as a external transport manager.
What was the role that you've taken?
So I transferred the skills I'd learned from running the business I really loved the transport manager side, so I decided I wanted to do something relating to that. So I became an external transport manager for 4 businesses where I'm nominated on their licence, and then I do little bits in between for Mantra, where I teach their it was a skills boot camp, but the CPC courses, And then I work for some restricted licence holders just doing compliance-based admin roles, which I really enjoy, so it's a bit of a mix.
I was going to say, what's attracted to you, A, that role, what is it you liked about the transport management role, and what is it you're getting out of it that's giving you that buzz, if you like?
In the family business, you don't have much of your own time. It's 24/7, or it was in the family business.
Yeah.
Everything, the business was priority over anything else in my life, so I didn't really have any power over my own
destination, journey.
Yeah, anything that went wrong, it was I had to go and do that. You know, any appointments I had, I couldn't make them because I had to prioritise the family business. So that's part and parcel of being part of it. Whereas now I can run my own diary, I can manage my own workload, I can plan the odd day off when it suits me, and work more closely with my operators so that if they need a bit of extra help on an extra day, I can just work it in my diary, so I have full flexibility of that. I'm working for myself, so I'm my own boss.
Flexibility, your own boss.
Yeah.
Be able to mix it up with different variations.
Yeah.
So that sounds like what that role is. So would you describe that role being like that? Flexibility, different roles?
Yeah, and I think
autonomy.
Some operators demand more time at certain times depending on what they're going through, and other operators just seem to tick along, so it's about having that flexibility where if I need to spend more days on site for that operator, I can work it in quite easily without putting myself under extra strain. And I was working 7 days a week for the family business a lot of the time.
So for the benefit of the audience, operator, what are you calling that? What is that?
That is a transport company that has an operator licence, so they run a number of trucks. So every company that runs trucks has an operator licence if they're over 7.5 tonne. So they're my operators. And as an external, you are legally only allowed to be on 4 licences. So I am at capacity with the 4 companies that I started working for at the beginning, and I haven't managed to take them off yet.
So being external, are you classing that as a associate type role or independent? What is that?
Totally independent. So we're not allowed to be. If you were on the books as an employee, you'd be an internal transport manager, whereas I'm external, so I'm sort of contracted in. So I'll tell them what hours that I'm working for them and what days I'm going to be attending.
So is that like being self-employed?
Yeah, fully
right,
self-employed, yeah.
So going through that journey, you've got to do your own tax, your own national insurance, and obviously doesn't necessarily
my own contracts with
doesn't
the
necessarily mean having all the money or programs in place. It's about just being organised and having contracts in place.
Yeah.
So you got to be organised.
Yeah, and it's
more
not
self-sufficient.
Yeah, it's not a salaried role.
No.
So sometimes the rate that I charge will vary depending on what they've got going on in the business. If they increase vehicles, if they reduce vehicles, if they go from the red operator compliance risk score that you might have heard people talk about. You aim to be in the green as an operator. If they drop into amber, it means it's more work for me to try and get them back into green. So all depends on what the needs are of that company or of that operator at that time. So full flexibility, and it means I get my weekends back, which I haven't for all my life really. I have had to be available to work if work came in, whereas now I made a point of having a bit more work-life balance, so that's what.
So you're not really selling a family business very well, but other than that, you actually blasting it out in terms of management, in terms of transport management. Sounds like a really exciting job.
Well, I want to say that the family business has taught me everything that I know, the good, the bad, the ugly, and it's set me up for going out on my own and choosing exactly what I want to do. So I now know where my passions are, and I've sort of really grown from that. So I'm not against being in my own family business. It'll be different from an employee point of view, being involved in a family business, because it's very personal. You're not a number. There's lots of benefits to being involved in a family-run business. But for me, I've been there and done it, got the t-shirt, and I'm just running with my new adventure.
Brilliant. Yes, and it does sound like an adventure, by the way. So So in terms of the industry itself and the job roles, you talked about quite a few different sort of roles within that. You also mentioned to me before we've had a conversation, it's quite a stable industry to be in.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that. You sound like if you want to be in it, you could be in it forever.
Yeah.
Is that really true? I mean, there's no risk in there. What do you mean by that then?
I would say there's a job for everybody in logistics, and I've experienced nearly every single role, especially in the family business. So what I can say is, if you start getting a bit bored with the mundane stuff day in and day out of invoicing, you can go into the planning, you can go into the transport manager side, you can learn to do inspections or PMIs on the vehicles, you could do driver training. So there's so many different avenues, and I know lots of drivers that we've brought through the ranks from being young, and they've done work in the garage, they've been out on the road, they've been in and done a bit of planning. So there's so many transferable skills, and although AI is coming, I still don't think the industry that I've come from, so heavy haulage, the machines are never going to load themselves and transport themselves and secure themselves to the back of a lorry to move from quarry to quarry. So I don't think you'll ever be out of a job in logistics. There's so many different jobs that you can do, and it's always exciting.
Which leads me on to the nice bit, is, you know, what kind of skills do people need to have, and what kind of skills can you develop in logistics? And so in these jobs that you're talking about that people can do, are there any basics, you know, are there any basics that need to come in at?
I'd say basic maths and English, should we call it, or computing skills, so just being able to work a computer, and then everything else is taught on the job. So you don't, as an external, I have to have my own laptop and I have to be able to run my own software, but as an internal or as a member of staff, you're using all the company's equipment, so it's stuff that all can be taught, and then it's all still transferred against different job roles within the sector. So
what about in terms of behaviour type things? You know, what people talk about resilience, dealing with pressure. You know, what's that like for you in this industry? Is that true?
I guess it depends on the job role. So certain job roles in the admin side or the account side was less stressful than the planning or the transport manager side. So it depends what your needs are and what you can manage as a person as to which role you would go into. And then a lot of the times you're sharing a big office with other people doing different job roles, so you can sort of see what additional pressures they have in their job and how many members of staff it takes to run that job title, should we say. But I'd say resilience definitely, because there's lots of dips and troughs in transport when we get busy, when the weather hits, and just having a passion, just loving what you do, I think helps you get far, and that's what I love about my job. I love going to work every single day, because even in my job, I've looked after the same companies for a long while now, years, and still every day I go in, they'll tell me some other problem that's cropped up since last time I was working there. They'll say, oh, you wouldn't believe this happened, and then that driver's done this, and this lorry's had this breakdown, and there's always so many different things that can happen from 1 hour to the next, that you are fighting fires a lot of the time. But when you've got a good support network around you, it makes it easier, because you all just come together and you find a solution. And,
so what was probably the biggest challenge that you've had to deal with that's been, wow, that was really tough to deal with?
Just dealing with the traffic commissioner in general. We're one of the most highly regulated industries in the UK, really, the transport sector. So when it comes to running an operator licence and making sure I advise my operators on what to do, and when things go wrong, which they do, every company deals with things that go wrong out of your control. It's knowing what to do to rectify it, or to help make sure it doesn't happen again, or do the best that you can to stop it happening again. So yeah, dealing with traffic commissioner is
a tricky one.
It is tricky.
I have to ask this question: being a female in a male-dominated world, what kind of challenges has that been? And if you had a message to any person that wants to be in a similar situation, what advice would you give them?
I would say you just need to find the right employer or the right team of people, because I haven't, whether it's because I've earned respect through doing the job, so being a lorry driver, I earned a lot of respect doing that, so transferring it to working for myself, word sort of gets around that I've moved the big heavy machines, and I've never had problems with somebody being rude, disrespectful, saying sexist comments to me, but I have come across it from other women in the industry. So I think as long as you do the job to the best of your ability, get as much additional support and training that you can to be the best at your job, there's no reason why a female can't do the job. Every job within the sector, I think, can be done by a woman. And I have tried nearly every job, and I don't see...
You're a good testament to that.
Yeah, I haven't struggled. I've just done it to the best of my ability and tried to enjoy the process of learning. So I'm always going on training courses. I'm always trying to better myself and doing some research and reading commercial motor.
That touched me on one last little bit. We talk about training. Obviously, you know, we do apprenticeships. You've been involved in some of that. Would you say apprenticeship, is there a benefit of doing an apprenticeship in this industry?
I think any further education, whether it's an apprenticeship, I haven't got experience doing an apprenticeship myself, but I've come across other people that have done them, and it's a really great way to gradually learn on the job and have that support as you're going into it. But definitely professional development of any form, so training courses. I've done my CPC with Mantra back in 2018, and yeah, it's the best thing that I did to help me further my career in logistics.
Fantastic. Well, I've grilled you enough. You've told me some great information, shared some really good information on the sector. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.